In this video, we are going to talk about unit analysis, and basically the idea of unit analysis is converting between different types of units, like feet and inches and hours and minutes. Some of the problems can be easy, some can be more difficult. This video is going to be primarily focused on just the basics of unit analysis. In class, we're going to look at some more difficult problems, but just to kind of get you ready for class, let's first review some stuff that we did earlier in the semester on working with fractions. Unit analysis is based on multiplying fractions, and so just as a review, remember that when we're multiplying fractions, a lot of times it's easier to do some simplifying first if we can, like 5 goes into 25 5 times, and 3 goes into 6 2 times. And so this first example A is 2 times 1 is 2 over 5 times 1 is 5. So my answer is 2/5. If we move on to the second example, again we want to try to simplify first. So we're looking for common factors between any number on the top with any number on the bottom. So for example, 3 goes into 9 3 times. And then it turns out either one of these 8's on top will go into 16. If I go ahead and choose this one, 8 goes into 16 twice, and then also notice that there's a 2 on the bottom and an 8 on top, so we can reduce that down to 1. 2 goes into 8 4 times. Now I think we're at a place where we can multiply across. If I multiply the top numbers, I have 1 times 4 times 1, which is 4. On the bottom we have 7 times 3 times 1. 7 times 3 is 21. So we have 4 over 21. Think for yourself if you can remember what we want to do if we have a fraction times a whole number. Hopefully you will remember that we want to write that whole number as a fraction as 27 over what? 27 over 1. And then we can go ahead and simplify. 9 goes into 27 3 times. And so multiplying across, on the top we have 2 times 3 is 6. And on the bottom we have 1 times 1, which is 1. And 6 over 1 simplifies down to 6. Okay, so that's just a little bit of a review with multiplying fractions. The two main things to remember again are before you multiply, see if you can cancel any factors, and then common factors on the top will, anywhere on the top, will eliminate or divide out with factors on the bottom, anywhere on the bottom. So if we move on to the next problem, it says in unit analysis we treat the units as factors which we can reduce just like the number factors. We then multiply the fractions. The answer is the unit that is not reduced. So this is just some practice of simplifying. For example here, this we could treat as over 1, and this is like 1 hour here. So there's no really numbers that can simplify from the bottom to the top, but there are units because we have hours on the bottom that will cancel with hours on the top. And so this first problem, if I multiply, I have 60 times 3, which is 180. And then the units left up on top are just miles. And on the bottom is nothing, it's just over 1. So this is really anything divided by 1 is itself, so this is 180 miles. And we can do the same sort of thing again. What's going to cancel in example B? Well, units of miles cancel. And then, of course, 2 does go into 5,280. How many times does it go in? 2,640. And so when I go to multiply now, we have 1 times 2,640, that's 2,640 feet. per on the bottom, this is a 1 there. 1 times 1 and in units of hours. Another way of writing this is we could write as 2,640 feet per hour. And we have one that's a little bit more complicated. Last example, C, looking for things that we can cancel. Notice we have hours down here and hours there. And we have miles here and miles here. Feet and minutes, those don't cancel. 3 does go into 60. How many times does 3 go into 60? 20 times. And 20 goes into 5,280. 264 times. 20 goes into that 264 times, so this will reduce down to 1. And this leaves us with, on the top here, 1 times 264 times 1, or 264 units left on top are feet. On the bottom we have 1 times 1 times 1 minute. So we have 1 minute, or this is 264 feet per minute. Okay, so there's some practice with eliminating, reducing unit factors multiplied by each other. Now in a unit analysis we often use what's called a conversion factor, or a unit fraction. Conversion factor is a fraction whose numerator and denominator are equal quantities. For example, since 1 foot is equal to 12 inches, think about a ruler, 1 foot equals 12 inches, we can write it as a fraction where the numerator is 1 foot, the denominator is 12 inches, and since those quantities are equal, this is really just equal to 1. Anytime the numerator and denominator are equal, the fraction really equals 1, the same way that 4 over 4 equals 1. So, question 3 says, use the attached conversion table to fill in the blanks to create conversion factors. So, we have on the back page of your notes, you're going to see a chart here. It has conversions for length, capacity, weight, time, metric unit conversions, and English to metric conversions at the very bottom. So let's go ahead and look at this first one. We don't necessarily always need the table, but that is there for your help. If I want to make this problem, if I want to create conversion factors where the numerator and the denominator are the same, that means that this top one is going to have to be 24, because there's 24 hours in one day. Okay. Do you know how many cups there are in a pint? Well, if you don't know off the top of your head, we could look back here in our conversion table, and you can see right here that 1 pint equals 2 cups. 1 pint equals 2 cups. So we'll have 1 pint over 2 cups. That makes a conversion factor. 1 foot is equal to how many inches? 12 inches. 1 pound equals how many ounces? Well, a lot of these I don't have memorized either, but and I don't necessarily expect you to have them memorized. It's something that comes as you do more and more problems. You start to remember these. You'll see right here under weight, pounds has to do with weight. 1 pound equals 16 ounces. So 1 pound over 16 ounces. And then the last one, 1 kilometer is how many meters? It's 1,000 meters. Kilo means 1,000. Okay, So now in 4, we're going to put some of these things together. 4 says construct the necessary conversion factors to give the units requested. The first one has been done for you. Notice that the units you don't want are in the denominator. Round all decimals to 2 decimal places. So I always like to write out first what we're given. We're given 18 hours. So I write that first. 18 hours times, and here's our conversion factor. There's 1 day is 24 hours. We want hours to be on the bottom because it needs to cancel with the hours on the top. And of course, we can reduce here. 18 and 24 are both divisible by 6. 6 goes into 18 3 times, and 6 goes into 24 4 times. So this is 3 divided by 4, which is 0.75 days. Alright, so let's do another one here. I'm starting with 12 ounces, and I want to get to pounds. So when I multiply, I need ounces on the bottom because this is what we're given. We want ounces to cancel, and I want to go from ounces to pounds. And we already talked about this unit conversion or conversion factor as well, and that was up here in example D. There's 16 ounces in 1 pound. So since ounces are down here, that's going to be 16 ounces in 1 pound. Some things cancel here. The ounces cancel. Also 4 goes into 12 3 times, and 4 goes into 16 4 times. Again, we have 3 over 4, which is 3 over 4 pound, 3 pounds over 4, or 0.75 pounds. Okay, 1.5 yards to feet. Start out with what you're given. 1.5, I'm going to go ahead and write that as 1.5. 1.5 yards over 1 times, since yards are on top here, we need yards on the bottom here. And can we go from yards to feet? You bet. There are 3 feet in 1 yard. So when I multiply, what cancels here? The yards cancel. Any numbers cancel? No, because these are ones down here. So we're just going to multiply the top. 1.5 times 3 is 4.5, and the units that are left are feet. So we have 4.5 feet. Okay, now we're going to go to from 40 milligrams to grams. Again, we always start out with what we're given, 40 milligrams over 1 times, I'm going to put milligrams on the bottom, grams on the top. Now this may not be as easy to remember for you. So let's go ahead and look at the table. We have grams to milligrams. There's 1 gram is equal to 1,000 milligrams. One gram equals 1,000 milligrams. Milligrams cancel. We got a 0 here with a 0 here, and 4 goes into 125 times. So this is 1 over 25, which is pretty small. It's about 0.04 grams. Now, also on the back page, I have this memory mnemonic. It says, King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. And this is another way of doing conversions in the metric system. So the king stands for kilo. The Henry stands for hecto. The dyed stands for deca. This is our base unit. Bi stands for base. Drinking stands for deci. Chocolate stands for centi. And milk stands for milli. Alright, so what you want to do is take what you were given. This is another way of doing these problems. Take what you're given, the 40 milligrams, and notice we want to go to grams, and the grams are the base units. So in this chart, the base units are either going to be meters, grams, or liters. Meters, grams, or liters. It's meters if you're talking about length, it's grams if you're talking about weight, it's liters if you're talking about capacity. So this problem says to go from 40 milligrams to grams. So we're starting out with milli though. So if you go here on the chart, milli is right here. Milli is right here. So to go from milli to grams, we're moving from milligrams to the base unit of grams. This is grams here. To do that, we got to move 1, 2, 3 places over. So if you take your 40 and you move the decimal place over 3, starting from here, you get 1, 2, 3, add a 0, and we get our answer. Same answer we had to go in the other way is 0.04 grams. You can do these either way, whatever way feels more comfortable for you. The next problem is from going from pounds to kilograms, and here we have an English to metric conversion. So we start out with what we're given, 103.5 pounds over 1 times pounds on top, so we need pounds on bottom, kilograms on the top, and we're going to look down here at the bottom chart. Pounds to kilograms. 1 pound is 0.45 kilograms. 1 pound is 0.45 kilograms. Units of pounds cancel, and then we just multiply across. 103.5 times 0.45. If I round to 2 decimal places, this would be 46.58 kilograms. Okay, grams to milligrams. Let's try using our mnemonic device here. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Kilo, hecto, deca, base, deci, centi, milli. I'm going from 0.05 grams, that's a base unit, that's right here, to milligrams. I'm going over 1, 2, 3 spots. So I'm going to take my 0.05 grams. I'm now moving 3 places to the right. 1, 2, 3. So this is going to be equal to 5 milligrams. Try another one here. King. Notice we can only do this when we're doing conversions that are metric to metric. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. We're going from liters to milliliters. Liters is one of those base units, so we're going to be starting here, going to milliliters. Again, that's 1, 2, 3 places over. So I have 8.25 liters. If I go 3 places to the right, 1, 2, 3, I actually have to add a 0 in there. And so my answer would be 8,250 milliliters. We have one more example here. We have pints to quarts. So we have 4 pints over 1 times pints on the bottom, quarts on the top. We'll go look at our chart, pints and quarts. 2 pints to 1 quart. 2 pints per 1 quart. 2 pints on the bottom, 1 quart on the top. Some canceling. Pints cancel. 2 goes into 4 twice. And so when I go to multiply, this becomes 2 quarts. And that does it for this video. Make sure you do your My Math Lab homework, and we'll talk more about this in class. Thank you.